Multiple sources are telling ABC News one firefighter was killed in the shooting at the firehouse in the town of Agua Dulce in northern LA County. Another firefighter was injured, airlifted to a hospital nearby in Santa Clarita. That injured firefighter is in the hospital right now, condition unknown. The suspect's home has been burning all day today. It's believed that the suspect was an employee of the LA County Fire Department.
ABC's Alex Stone in Los Angeles. Moderna's asked the FDA to fully approve its COVID-19 vaccine. It currently has emergency use authorization. Pfizer asked for full approval last month. The White House is working with JBS Foods after the meat producer was hit by a ransomware attack that it believes came from Russia. Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
The White House is engaging directly with the Russian government on this matter and delivering the message that responsible states do not harbor ransomware criminals.
President Biden will meet with Russian President Putin later this month. Stocks closed mixed today. You're listening to ABC News.
From the KMET Weather Center for Beaumont, Banning, and the Passer. As we head into the evening, a mainly clear sky to be mainly clear overnight, the low 66. Plenty of sunshine Wednesday, high 94. Mainly clear Wednesday night, low 64. For the Inland Empire, as we head into the evening, a clear sky to be mainly clear with patchy fog overnight, the low 62. Palm Springs, a clear evening and overnight with a low of 78. I'm meteorologist Jim Rinaldi for Smart Talk 1490 KMET.
Hey, are you okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm fine.
17 to Central Jail.
If you've been arrested for DUI and are facing DMV in court hearings, it could mean losing your license, your job, and even your freedom. But Wallin Klarich can help. Just call 877-4-NO-JAIL. With attorneys who know your local courts, Wallin Klarich can make the difference between jail and freedom. Call Wallin Klarich at 877-4-NO-JAIL. The call is free. Will you be?
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates. The WK Law Power Hour is here to take you from zero to hero in legal knowledge in 60 minutes. A law firm with 40 years of experience is ready to give you legal guidance you need for free. What could be better than that? Amazing stories about actual cases, interesting and informative guests. Listen, watch, call in. Come ready to learn. And now your host for WK Law Power Hour, Paul Wallin.
Hi, everybody. This is Paul Wallin. I'm the senior partner of Wallin Klarich, and today you have the great benefit of being part of the WK Law Power Hour. This is our third show, and with every show we get more people calling and more people following, and it's very exciting because what we offer on this show is free legal knowledge. It's a little shocking to people to hear you actually can get answers from a lawyer for free. Yes, F-R-E-E, free. You call 951-922-3532, or you can email me at pjw@wklaw.com or on TikTok at BeachLawyerPaul. I'll be glad to answer your questions because they're scrolling across the screen. And when you call, you get honest and no BS answers to your question. If I can't answer your question after the show, if you leave your email, I'll be able to forward you to a lawyer that can answer your question. And that's what's exciting. You can also go to wklaw.com and you can learn about so many things that affect people in their life. How to file a restraining order, how to defend against a restraining order, how to fight a traffic ticket, how do I expunge my criminal record that when I was a kid, I didn't know what I was doing, and now I have a criminal record, and now it's coming to bite me in the rear because it's hard to get a job. All those things that can be answered on our website, and that's wklaw.com. I've been a lawyer for way longer than my looks would indicate. That's a joke. 43 years. Our firm was founded in 1981. We've helped over 250,000 people. And if you'd like to call in, it's 951-922-3532 or wklaw.com or pjw@wklaw.com. Today we have the tremendous honor of having two really, really great lawyers to talk about two completely different areas of law that people have asked me questions about, so I thought I'd bring them on the show. The first is my partner, one of my partners, Greg Balderrama, a brilliant lawyer. Will be talking to you about how you can successfully defend someone who's accused of a crime. We'll also talk about how do you go about hiring a lawyer when you're accused of a crime? What do you look for? Is it a good idea to have a public defender, or is it a good idea to have a private lawyer? Is it a good idea to have a lawyer that's by themselves or a law firm? And what about the importance of a lawyer? Oh, Karen, how you doing today?
Hi, Paul. I'm doing great. How are you?
Fine. Do you have a question for me?
I do. So I'm
Okay.
receiving threatening phone calls from my ex, and he says that if I don't agree to meet him one more time, he will take care of me. And I'm
Whoa.
scared. What can I do?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to tell you how sorry I am, and also, unfortunately, tell you we get those calls about every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. There are two things you can do. First of all, if he has made a threat to you, and it's a credible threat, you can call the police, and the police will be obligated to come out and take a report, and they'll come out and interview him if they can locate him. Sometimes it's not so easy, especially but if you have his address, it won't be so difficult. And obviously, they can then, based on the statements you claim, they can arrest him. But in many cases, the police don't put this as the highest priority. You can also file a restraining order in court. And it's not difficult to file a restraining order. It's much better to have a lawyer, but by filing a restraining order, you have to get him served. And the judge, if you have a credible threat, a recent threat, the judge will likely grant you a temporary restraining order, which means he can't come and contact you or anywhere near you or can't call you. And that's for a short period of time. And then in about 3 weeks after that, you'll come to court for a permanent hearing. And if the judge grants that, he can be restrained from being around you for 5 years. And what's wrong? Why is that important? Because then if he calls you in any way, shape, or form, you call the police, and guess what? Then his butt will be arrested and will be charged with a serious crime. So you're not helpless, but just another precaution, if you take him seriously, I would not be alone. I would probably stay with someone else temporarily until this is rectified. Because nowadays, with everything and the guns and all this stuff that's going on, I would assume that if anyone's threatening you, they're serious, especially if they've been drinking or taking drugs. Does that answer your question, dear?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Okay, I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So our next guest after Greg is going to be someone I've known for many, many years because he used to be part of our law firm. He's a brilliant lawyer, William Bruzzo, and he is a former Marine, and he's going to talk about every aspect of importance about military law. What is the difference between a crime? What happens if you're in the military and you get arrested, say at Macy's or at Vaughn's grocery store off base? Are you prosecuted in the state court, or are you prosecuted in the military court, or are you prosecuted in both? And what kind of penalties are there in the military court? You know, do you go to the brig? Can you go to prison forever? Because it sounds, if you're, military, if you screw up in the military, probably you're going to get booted out. But what else happens to you? This show is not just about laws here in California. It's about what's going on in the whole country. And where's the most important laws made, really? That's in the United States Supreme Court. And today I want to talk about, in the time that I have, I want to talk about some things that are extremely important going on right now. Some may shock you because you think in 2021 this wouldn't be happening, but it's happening. In California, ever since Roe versus Wade, a woman has had the right to choose. Up until the third trimester, she has the absolute right to choose whether to continue the pregnancy and bear the child or terminate the pregnancy. Mississippi has passed a new law that says they want to change that, and they want to make it a crime where the doctor and the woman could both technically be prosecuted if they abort the child after there's a discernible heartbeat. Now, you could look it up yourself. That can range anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to longer. In many cases, a woman doesn't even know she's pregnant during that period of time. So one would argue you're taking away a woman's choice altogether if she doesn't find out in Mississippi that she's pregnant until after the heartbeat. And that happens. And now the Supreme Court is going to have to decide. And you say, well, what impact has former President Donald Trump had on the United States of America now that he's no longer in office, thank God? What impact could he have? Well, he's going to have an impact on our laws for the next 2 generations. You say, how is that? Because when he was... Oh, Maureen, how you doing?
I am doing well. How are you?
Fine. What would you like to ask or tell me?
Yes. So I pled guilty to a felony theft crime about 10 years ago. I paid back the money, but this is still haunting me, and I can't find a job because of that. So what can I do?
Oh, very good question. This is probably the one question we get more than any other question when people call our office. There are hundreds of thousands of people that made silly mistakes, bad mistakes, even intentional mistakes when they were younger. And now this person is facing a difficulty getting a job, and she has a felony record. Who wants that? There's 2 things she can do in California. Every state is different, but in California, if she was committed of a theft crime, that's considered a wobbler, which means it could have been a felony or a misdemeanor. She can hire a lawyer to go to court and ask the judge first to reduce the felony to a misdemeanor. And then if she's not on probation or parole or anything, she can then make another motion to ask the court to set aside her guilty plea, enter a not guilty plea, and the case is dismissed. Period. Done. And that means unless she's going for government employment or a state license type job, she can honestly answer on her application, have you been convicted of a crime? She can say no. And now, with things coming up and jobs are going to be more competitive, you don't want to have a criminal record. Because if you have a criminal record, who's going to hire you when there's 15 people applying that don't have a criminal record? So that is very, very important to understand. You have 2 different things you can do to clean up your record. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you have any other questions?
That's going to be it. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. And thank you for calling. See. I just got a TikTok question. There's a warrant I got notified a week ago, and it's from a traffic violation in 2001. Okay, well, if you have a warrant out for your arrest, obviously you need to contact a lawyer who goes to that court all the time. It doesn't matter what state you're in. Go to a lawyer who practices criminal law in that state, and since it's so long ago, that lawyer very likely can get the warrant recalled because, of course, you're subject to getting arrested, and if you get arrested, you're going to be very pissed off and also may have to post bail. But the lawyer can probably go to court and explain to the judge this is 20 years ago and either to get the case dismissed or actually set up for trial. And the odds of that officer that was 40 at the time he gave you that citation is now 60. He should be retired by now. So hopefully that's answer that question for you. Going back to the abortion issue, with Trump having appointed 3 Supreme Court justices to the court that are very pro-life and conservative, and with Ruth Ginsburg, who was the heart and soul of support of women's rights, we're in trouble now if you care about a woman's right to choose. You need to keep an eye on that case, because if they decide that they can move the clock back and make it a crime to terminate a pregnancy as soon as the heartbeat, the next step is to look at completely overturning Roe versus Wade altogether. And could you imagine what that would do to our country? Always, statistics, polls say that about 30 to 35% of Americans are pro-life, and the balance are pro-choice. So this would be another example where the Supreme Court would tell people, even though 2/3 of America say they believe in the right of a woman's right to choose, that they shouldn't be allowed to have a woman's right to choose. And that would be extremely, extremely unfortunate, because the woman is the one carrying the child and will have to take care of that child after birth. So it's easy for the government to tell them what they should do with their body. That's my firm belief about that topic. There's so many other things to talk about that are coming up in the law that I want to talk about now, and that is the right to adopt a child. But I think we're going to have to go through that after this commercial break. So everyone hang in there for a few minutes, and we'll be back with the right to adopt a child.
You've been charged with a crime, and now you're facing the loss of your freedom. Where do you turn to get out of jail or stay out of jail? The law offices of Wallin Klarich. Call 877-4-NO-JAIL. With over 20 years' experience and attorneys who work in your local courts, Wallin Klarich can make the difference between jail and freedom. When you need help, make one call. Make it to Wallin Klarich. 877-4-NO-JAIL. The call is free. Will you be?
Hey, are you okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm fine.
17 to Central Jail.
If you've been arrested for DUI and are facing DMV in court hearings, it could mean losing your license, your job, and even your freedom. But Wallin Klarich can help. Just call 877-4-NO-JAIL. With attorneys who know your local courts, Wallin Klarich can make the difference between jail and freedom. Call Wallin Klarich at 877-4-NO-JAIL. The call is free. Will you be?
When your children are taken by social workers, it may be the worst day of your life. When will I see my children again? Where are they going? How can I get them back? Who can I turn to for help to end this nightmare? The answers to all these questions are a phone call or email away. Wallin Klarich have been helping defend parents who are battling the system to regain custody of their children for 40 years. Many of their clients have done nothing wrong to warrant their children being taken from them. Other clients may regret some action that they've taken with their children. However, in every case, the clients desperately need their children back. That's where Wallin Klarich comes in. They know the dependency system. They will do all they can to work to try to get your children back with you. Take the first step and call Wallin Klarich now for a free phone consultation at 877-466-5245. That's 877-466-5245. Or visit wklaw.com to chat with us. They'll be there when you call.
If you are facing criminal charges, your entire future is at stake. You need to act now to protect your job, your family, and your freedom. Call Wallin Klarich at 877-4-NO-JAIL. Wallin Klarich has over 30 years of experience in fighting for our clients' rights. With local offices in Riverside and San Bernardino, we are here to help you now. Call 877-4-NO-JAIL or go to wklaw.com. How much is your freedom worth? Call 877-466-5245. The call is free. Will you be?
When you have a warrant for your arrest, it's a very scary time in your life. When you drive a car, you have to be extra careful that you do not commit any sort of moving violation. You have to be looking over your shoulder, checking for police officers. Will you be stopped and thrown in jail? What a horrible feeling. For over 40 years, we have helped thousands of persons resolve their problem with having a warrant. In some cases, we can actually appear in court for you without you being present to recall the warrant. Depending on the facts of your case, you may never have to do 1 minute in jail. Stop living in fear. Call us now for a free phone consultation at 877-4-NO-JAIL. That is 877-4-NO-JAIL. Or go to wklaw.com. Isn't it time to get your life back? We will be there when you call.
Hi, everybody. We're back. And it is my tremendous honor to have one of my law partners and one of our most brilliant lawyers, Greg Balderrama, on with me to talk about some cases that he handles and gets tremendous results. His answers can help you tremendously if you or someone you know is accused of a crime. First of all, Greg, where did you go to school? What's your educational background?
I'm a proud Bruin. I went to UCLA undergrad, much like yourself, and then I went to Loyola Law School in Los Angeles for my JD.
And, okay, why did you decide to become a lawyer?
Well, Originally, I just wanted to kind of get into something, position to help people. And I was an undergrad. I was an English major, so reading, research, long hours in the library was already kind of like new. It was like part of my life, so it wasn't new to me. Law just seemed like the logical next step, and I just really wanted to get into something where I can like help people. And before I knew it, I was, in law school.
Did you think when you were in law school, did you think at that time you might want to be a certain kind of lawyer, family law, criminal law, immigration law? What did you think then?
I was always interested in criminal. At that time, I was probably leaning more towards prosecution, only because that's what I knew more about, just from like TV, Law and Order being the big one. And then, eventually there were just way more opportunities to be a defense attorney that just appealed to me more. It's more of a, I can definitely be out and about and do my own cases or find a firm. And I was very fortunate to find this one. So, yeah.
That's great. Now, before I ask this next question, to be a lawyer, you have to go to undergraduate normally for 4 years and then law school for 3 years. And if you're 18 when you graduate, that puts you at about 25 when you're a lawyer, right? Many people watching this show on TV might say, how can this kid who looks about 22 years old be a lawyer? Well, it's some kind of beauty products, I guess. But how long have you been a lawyer?
I've as of today, it's 9 years to the date.
Okay, got it. 9 years. That's a long time. So Greg is he may look like a brand new lawyer, but he's definitely a very experienced lawyer and a brilliant lawyer. How long have you been with our law firm, Wallin Klarich?
I'm pushing 40. I'm closer to 40 than I am 30. But
oh, okay. Yeah. Wow.
So I've been with Wallin Klarich for 5 years now. So
okay,
it's been a
interesting experience, right?
Yes, definitely. It's never boring.
Okay. Now you do criminal defense. Just about most of the things you do is criminal defense.
That is correct. About 95% of what I do is criminal.
What do you find to be the most challenging part of your job?
Definitely trying to get my client's life back on track. Some things are possible. Others times it's it's really just about damage control, depending on what we're talking about here. Ultimately, I think the big one everyone thinks is just keeping them out of jail. That's very simple way of thinking about things. It's more about getting them back on track with their life. You never consequences to them as far as licenses goes, professional ones, relationship issues, their family, and of course immigration, big ones. So that's definitely trying to meet their specific needs is definitely one of the top issues I have, and just trying to make sure they realize that their life, this will end, and they need to make sure that their life will get back on track.
Yeah, I would say that the one thing that people don't realize about criminal defense attorneys and the difficulty of our job is that often we're put almost with a different hat, like a therapist or almost a social worker, because when people first contact us, they are normally devastated. They think that their life is that they're going to lose their marriage and their kids, and they're going to go to prison or jail. And it's sometimes very difficult. Unless you're a very compassionate human being, you probably shouldn't do this job, because sometimes lawyers are sometimes not the nicest people, and they don't have the patience with people. And you have to first calm the person down and get them to the point where they can listen and tell them it's not the end of the world. We can get through this, because we have had some unfortunate experiences in my career where people decided not to stay around for the case. And I don't mean they ran. I mean they ended their life. So we have to be very, very careful when dealing with people in distressful situations. So, Greg, can you tell us about some of your most successful cases and why they were so successful and the area that they were?
Most recently, I had a misdemeanor case out of Orange County for a client who was accused of violating a restraining order, which is pretty cut and dry, really, you would think. Did the person contact in any way, shape, or form, or come within 100 yards of the person through a family law restraining order, violation of which is a criminal matter. So when you're dealing with a situation like that, and where you have a client with a contentious, let's call it ex-girlfriend, willing to say that my client violated it, it's a difficult situation. It's almost her word against his. And in this situation, my clients actually had proof that he was not even in that area at that time. Thankfully, he had like an electronic timesheet, not a written one, electronic one that his supervisor was willing to say, yeah, he was here. He can't just log in and not be here. So, I mean, it took several months to get the city prosecutor to agree to just dismiss these charges outright. But something like that, I mean, he could have done, even jail time. But taking a hit like that when he absolutely did not do it, or losing his job could have potentially happened, or even losing standing with the family court because of the custody issues. I mean, he just had so much to lose. Spending a lot of time on this case was essential, and getting that point across to the prosecutor, really helped him. So that's one really good example. But
what's interesting is when you're talking about a case you won the restraining order matter, and Greg was just talking about how restraining order matters are extremely serious. People don't understand that if you are served with a restraining order, you better take it seriously. Some people call us and they go, well, I'm not going to go around that person anyway, so I'll just get the restraining order. Not only is that a bad decision for many reasons. First of all, when you have a restraining order against you, very often the police will know about it. Secondly, and more importantly, a person who hates you enough to go for a restraining order or is afraid of you is just as likely to go to the police and say you violated the restraining order. And the police have to take that seriously, have to go out and arrest you. And now what? Now you should have taken that restraining order a lot more seriously. And that's amazing, Greg, that you got that case dismissed. Was there another restraining order case that you recently got dismissed?
Yes, this is part of that 5% of that I do handle. It's not criminal, but we get quite a few restraining orders. The last one I handled was in Los Angeles. It was against mom, where, like you said, just where it's a contentious relationship. Former lovers will. We all know how that works out, but then they get the courts involved. And when dad starts alleging that mom hit son, they're going to take that especially seriously. And so mom and I had to come together and look at what he was alleging and look at what she actually showed was in the medical charts. It was not that kind of mark. It was an unrelated mark that had nothing to do with physical abuse or child abuse in any way, shape, or form. Yet there she is having to defend herself, and dad saying these things because, well, he's just litigious and trying to get some kind of, I guess, advantage in family court. But like you just said, if she had just let that go, that would have definitely affected her custody arrangement, and now she's labeled a child abuser, and we don't need that. So yeah, taking those things seriously is definitely something people should do.
Yeah, absolutely. Another area of law that we do a lot is Dmv Matters, where you might be in the shower and you might collapse. Maybe you drank too much, who knows? And the EMT has to come to the house, and all of a sudden you're revived. You didn't even go to the hospital. They took care of it at your house. And you think you're fine. And they didn't know, no, you don't go back to the doctor. You go, this is a one-off. And next thing you know, you get a letter from the DMV. Hey, by the way, your license is suspended, or your license is going to be suspended in a week. You better take that seriously. And Greg handles some DMV matters, and there's one that you won recently. How did that happen?
Well, I don't want to encourage the listeners to not seek medical treatment, but yes, that is true. If you do have some kind of loss of consciousness, either or a possibility of loss of consciousness, yes, unfortunately, your doctor or whomever is going to report that. And that's certainly what happened here. The gentleman had an issue related to an issue with his he suffered from, say, narcolepsy or, say, hypertension or what have you. It's just one of those things that whatever causes you to have blackouts, the DMV needs to know about this, for their safety and, of course, for everybody listening safety. What we have to do there, of course, is get an updated doctor's report, show 90 days of no loss of consciousness issues, and then have someone sign off on a doctor, not just some random person, a doctor that can actually attest that this person is safe to drive. And that's important because you don't want to just have any doctor say anything. because you do want somebody who's credible. In this instance, unfortunately, he had to do 90 days without a license, but that's nothing compared to losing it indefinitely or certainly having it revoked. And in this instance, it was returned to him, and he's going to abide by whatever his doctor agreed to, and that's a good outcome.
Yeah. So Greg, you won that case, and so important. If you get a letter from the DMV like that saying they're going to suspend your license, you need to first call us, and then we'll hook you up with either your doctor or another doctor. It's better to be your doctor who can do a complete evaluation of you and be able to give us a letter and maybe testify that you are not a risk and you should keep your license. In California, losing your license is like in every state, but in California, because our system of transportation is drive your car, you got to have your license. So if you get such a letter, call us and we'll help you. One more case to talk about is you recently resolved a misdemeanor child abuse case, right?
Yes.
Okay, what happened in that case and how did you get successful? And what was it about? Was it about a father who was spanking his child?
It was actually a father was alleged to have just disciplined one child who was harming the other. And unfortunately, the police were involved, social workers were involved, and they determined that his discipline was just excessive because he was alleged to have used an object, which you're not allowed to use. However, in this instance, it was something that we wanted to show that this was not just a father just losing his mind or was drunk or just doing something just to do something. We were showing that he was trying to discipline his son, and it may have gone a little more than the courts would like, but because he was seriously had tried or exercised every possible option to try to keep the older son from being a bully, and that he had sought out counseling, we were able to put that together, package it in a way that the prosecutor was agreeable that if with therapy, parental classes, maybe some anger management, they would agree to drop the charges. And so eventually he'll get this, not only this conviction dismissed, but he can even seal his arrest records in the state if you don't have a conviction. So we hope to deal with that in the coming months, but that's where we're at. And if he does what he's supposed to do, he'll get that dismissal.
What did he hit the child with?
He was alleged to have used a back scratcher.
Okay, did it leave a mark?
Yes.
So in this case that Greg just handled, for those of you on TikTok didn't hear, the father used a back scratcher to discipline his kid. It left a mark on his body, and that normally is a criminal prosecution. Just so you know, don't ever strike your child with any object. If it leaves a mark, you're subject to getting arrested and possibly having your child taken away. Greg did a brilliant job in being able to convince the court and the prosecutor that it was a one-off and that the child was sort of incorrigible, and he had taken a series of steps to try to discipline him without physical punishment, and they didn't work. And he used this as a last resort. It's still not cool. It's still not okay, but Greg was able to get him into some classes, and then the case is ultimately going to be dismissed. But it is never a good idea in 2021, no matter what your parents taught you, to strike your child with anything. Greg, what does our law firm offer, in your opinion, different from other criminal defense law firms?
We're all true believers here. The work is hard, not gonna lie, but it's definitely something we all believe in. We believe in good work. We don't hide the ball from each other. Individual glory is not something we all strive to do. Our firm is very proud of the work we do. I talk to the partners. Partners will talk to me, and fellow associates. We'll just all try to mix and match ideas and based upon the experiences that we all have. So we're all true believers here, and we try our best to at least be in constant communication with our clients. We advance their best interests. Like we discussed earlier, we will try to fix their lives as best as we can. So what we offer is that individualized treatment, and definitely the time and efforts that we put forward that that maybe other firms just can't or won't do. And
I appreciate that, Greg. We're going to commercial. Greg, you're an outstanding lawyer. Anyone who's lucky enough to have Greg as their lawyer is lucky. And we're going to commercial break.
You've been charged with a crime, and now you're facing the loss of your freedom. Where do you turn to get out of jail or stay out of jail? The law offices of Wallin Klarich. Call 877-4-NO-JAIL. With over 20 years experience and attorneys who work in your local courts, Wallin Klarich can make the difference between jail and freedom. When you need help, make one call. Make it to Wallin Klarich. 877-4-NO-JAIL. The call is free. Will you be?
When your children are taken by social workers, it may be the worst day of your life. When will I see my children again? Where are they going? How can I get them back? Who can I turn to for help to end this nightmare? The answers to all these questions are a phone call or email away. Wallin Klarich have been helping defend parents who are battling the system to regain custody of their children for 40 years. Many of their clients have done nothing wrong to warrant their children being taken from them. Other clients may regret some action that they've taken with their children. However, in every case, the clients desperately need their children back. That's where Wallin Klarich comes in. They know the dependency system. They will do all they can to work to try to get your children back with you. Take the first step and call Wallin Klarich now for a free phone consultation at 877-466-5245. That's 877-466-5245. Or visit wklaw.com to chat with us. They'll be there when you call.
Hey, are you okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm fine.
17 to Central Jail.
If you've been arrested for DUI and are facing DMV in court hearings, it could mean losing your license, your job, and even your freedom. But Wallin Klarich can help. Just call 877-4-NO-JAIL. With attorneys who know your local courts, Wallin Klarich can make the difference between jail and freedom. Call Wallin Klarich at 877-4-NO-JAIL. The call is free. Will you be?
When you are facing a serious criminal charge, it means you may be looking at many years in prison or doing up to 1 year in county jail. Most people do not know who to turn to in their time of need for expert legal guidance. What you do next can make the difference between ending up in prison for many years or having your charges dismissed and you going free. At this very critical time in your life, you need Wallin Klarich fighting for you. Wallin Klarich has 40 years of criminal defense experience, and they work very hard to do all they can to win their clients' cases. Wallin Klarich has a team of 10 criminal defense lawyers fighting for their clients every day. They help people with cases pending throughout California. They successfully defend cases dealing with murder, sex crimes, all felonies, as well as misdemeanors. Check out wklaw.com for some real client success stories. They offer a free phone consultation to answer your questions. Call them toll-free at 877-4-NO-JAIL. That's 877-4-NO-JAIL. They will be there when you call.
If you are facing criminal charges, your entire future is at stake. You need to act now to protect your job, your family, and your freedom. Call Wallin Klarich at 877-4-NO-JAIL. Wallin Klarich has over 30 years of experience in fighting for our clients' rights. With local offices in Riverside and San Bernardino, we are here to help you now. Call 877-4-NO-JAIL or go to wklaw.com. How much is your freedom worth? Call 877-466-5245. The call is free. Will you be?
Hi, everybody. We're back. WK Law Power Hour. We have a tremendous guest now, William Bruzzo, one of the most brilliant lawyers I know, and I know a lot of lawyers. Will Bruzzo used to work for our law firm before he got smart and went on his own. And Will, welcome to the show, first of all.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
No problem. How long have we known each other? That's on the list.
It's been over 20 years now.
Wow. Jeez. Yeah. I think you were like, what, 12? 14 maybe?
Something like that, yeah.
It was like an accelerated law school class when he was in the 8th grade. No. Anyway, Will was a tremendous associate when he worked for our firm. Just brilliant. And now he's a brilliant lawyer in his own right, with military law, criminal defense. Can you first tell us about your educational background?
Yes, so I went to college at the University of Rochester, New York. I went to law school at the University of Dayton in Dayton, Ohio. And then after graduating, I took initially the Pennsylvania bar before I took the California bar, and I became a Marine Corps lawyer.
Wow, that's amazing in itself. How long were you in the Marines?
I was in the Marines for 7 years, which included time in the reserves. I was stationed in 29 Palms, lovely 29 Palms near Joshua Tree. It's a middle of nowhere, but it's something that when you're in your late 20s, it's a great thing to do because it's just so unique.
What was your role as a lawyer in the military?
So I was initially we called a legal assistance lawyer. I did wills and trust and general consumer law, basically a resource for service members. You have a lot of young people in the military. The average age is 19. So they need help from folks to help them navigate, consumer issues and that sort of thing. So we did that. We also did wills because unfortunately people will sometimes die in military service. That sort of thing. We even help with basic divorce things. So I did that for about a year, and then I transitioned to military criminal defense.
And that means you represented persons accused of crimes in the military?
That is correct.
Was it only crimes that occurred on a base, or would it also be if they committed a crime while a Marine off base?
So in the military, you are subject to the law, the military law, which is called the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ. You're subject to that law 24/7 if you're in the military. And it doesn't matter where the crime occurs, on a base, out in town, in a foreign country. You can always be prosecuted for committing a violation of the UCMJ, no matter where you are.
Wow, that's tough. The military is not tough enough. I'm on KMET 1490, our television show. That's why on TikTok, I'm asking questions to attorney Will Bruzzo, military lawyer, now a private criminal defense and military lawyer. How long have you been a lawyer, Will?
I have been a lawyer since 1993. So getting up 27 years or something crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, it's just hard to believe, man. Will used to work for me as a lawyer, and this is just hard to believe. But right now, Will is married with some kids, and my son and his son are about the same age, and they're like, bet baseball together and all those kind of things. It's just
soccer and
hard
all
to
that.
believe.
Yeah.
And soccer and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so now in your practice, what areas of law do you handle?
So I handle all parts of criminal defense, civilian criminal defense, California Penal Code, from DUIs to murder and everything in between. But then I also handle military criminal defense. So if a military person is accused of a crime, whether they committed it, on a military installation or in town, I will represent them on that.
Got it. And what kind of penalties are there for people who commit military crimes?
So the military punishment for violating a law under the Uniform Code of Military Justice can be very severe because they let jurors decide the sentence. As you know, Paul, in civilian criminal defense, the judge in California does the sentencing, not the jurors, but the jurors can do the sentencing in military courts of law. And if you make them angry, they have sentences that are 100 years and crazy things like that. So that aspect of it is a little hard to predict. But most of the time, most military jurors are very seasoned, professional military people, and they do the right thing, in my view.
So what you mean is, if you're in the military, the jurors are other soldiers.
They are other people in the military. That is correct. So our Constitution requires that you be tried by a jury of your peers. Well, in the military, your peers are other folks in the military.
So what happens if a person is accused of rape he lives on base, but he goes off base and he's dating somebody, and that person accuses him of raping her? Is that going to be something that you're punished in the state court for that? Or after that, again in the military court? Or how does that work?
So you could be prosecuted, either the civilians can prosecute you or the military can prosecute you. And so generally, the head lawyer on base will speak with the local district attorney, and they'll just make a decision about who wants to take the prosecution. They usually defer to each other, but technically either of them can prosecute the person.
So it's not like federal, it's like sometimes with some crimes, like with the guy that just was responsible for the death of George Floyd and was convicted of murder. He's tried in the state court, and
Right.
now they're going to prosecute him in the federal court. It's not the same thing. You don't get prosecuted in both military court and state court.
Technically, he could be, but why would you do that? I mean, technically, he could be. As you know, there's two different sovereigns. One is the state authorities, one's the federal authorities. So you could do it in both, but obviously, why would you prosecute the same person for the same thing? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But they could do it that way. I've never seen that done.
What if the person, for example, got acquitted in the criminal court? He was found not guilty in the criminal court. Would the military court still say they did?
They could. It would be very, very unusual, unprecedented in my knowledge.
So the person would go free if he convinced 12 jurors in the criminal court. And is the burden of proof the same beyond a reasonable doubt in military court and criminal court?
It is. Yes, it is. Exactly the same.
But isn't it sort of funky if you get accused of a crime and you're prosecuted in military court? It's not really, how do I say it? You don't really have a criminal defense attorney that's really on your side, or how do you explain that?
That's a misnomer. I was a criminal defense attorney. I was extremely dedicated to the defense of my clients, just like a civilian public defender would be. And as you know, Paul, here in Orange County, we have some great public defenders. And so in my view, I was unusual because, most Marine Corps officers, represent the Marine Corps. But when you're a defense attorney in the Marine Corps, you represent your client first, even above and beyond, your allegiance to the Marine Corps. You have to defend them because, as you know, the Constitution requires a zealous defense. So our priority is our client at all times. And I really do believe that folks like myself who are still serving as criminal defense attorneys in the Marine Corps, they make the client their priority and they do their very best. And I think they're very good lawyers.
So what you're saying is that I had heard, and obviously you're saying I'm not correct, I think. I have heard that there's limits to how much a criminal defense attorney can do in military court without getting someone in the military pissed off at him.
It's incorrect. It's incorrect. You would not be doing your duty as a Marine Corps officer, as a lawyer, if you did not defend them to the farthest extent. Not only that, but if someone puts pressure on you for defending your client, that person can get into a lot of trouble. So you may recall there was this situation where this guy went AWOL in Afghanistan and Donald Trump made some statements about him. Well, there's a name for that. It's called undue command influence. And so Donald Trump is the head of the military, commander in chief. That case against that soldier could have been dismissed because Donald Trump was essentially contaminating the jury with his opinion. He was prejudicing the jury. So it's very, very dangerous. And military people are very professional. And so they keep their trap shut when it comes to those kind of things. They realize military defense attorneys have a sacred duty to their client.
If you get convicted of a crime in military court, say petty theft or something, or burglary, what's going to happen to you in terms of getting kicked out of the military or not kicked out of the military?
So there are various ways to get removed from the military, but if you go to a court-martial and you get convicted, then more than likely, if the court-martial does not remove you, because they can, so the jurors or the judge in the trial can remove you with a bad conduct discharge or a dishonorable discharge, and then you're out of the military with what we call bad paper, which follows you around for the rest of your life. The other way to get you out is if the jury doesn't remove you, then your command can initiate proceedings called administrative separation proceedings. And these are very, very common to folks in the military. And basically you have other military people would listen at an administrative hearing to your case and decide whether or not to remove you from the military. So it's a very common process. And if you've been convicted, generally you're not going to be able to stay in the military.
Even if you've been, so you're going to get kicked out of the military basically if you pick up a crime in the military. Does it matter if you've been in the military for 15 years or 1 year? Is that going to give you any more chance?
You know what? The longer you've been in, the tougher it is to kick you out, because you'll have a board of your peers will listen at the administrative hearing. And if they decide that, this was an isolated incident or you just made a mistake and you have 18 years in, 2 years shy of retirement, they're going to be loath to remove you. So I've had very senior people with extensive combat records, and they've made some mistakes late in their career, and they've been retained in the service because while they did something they shouldn't have done, they looked at their career as a whole, decided to keep them in and let them retire.
So if someone has been in the military a long time, they're more likely not to be kicked out.
That is correct.
But if you've just been in the military a year or two, you're done.
It's very tough to stay in. That being said, I have had people who are very junior in rank retained in service.
Okay, Cynthia, how can I help you?
Hi, I wanted to ask you a question and see if you could help me out. I recently separated from my husband, and I don't know if I would be able to ask for spousal support in my case. We were married about 6 years, and he makes twice the money I make.
Okay. Well, sorry, Will, I have to answer this, sorry. But the answer to that question is, if you've been married more than 5 years, are you in California?
Yes, I'm in San Bernardino.
Oh, San Bernardino. Okay, so if you have been married over 5 years and you want spouse support, you have a shot. You have to go to court, and you should get a lawyer. And if he makes twice as much money than you, there's a good chance you're going to get some spouse support. But it depends on what kind of job you have. It depends on how long he has his job. Also, if you have children, there's so many dynamics. But since spouse support is not going to be for life in something like that, unless you're disabled, it's probably going to be normally a short marriage like that. It's going to be about half the length of the marriage. So don't expect you to get a lot of spouse support forever, but you might get some for about half the length of the marriage. But every case is different. That's why you should seek a lawyer for sure. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure, no problem. Will, one more question. I heard that if you're in the military and you do a urinalysis test and you have marijuana in your system, that's really, really bad, even though it's totally legal in California.
The problem is it's not legal under federal law, and it's still illegal to use marijuana. So even if you're in the state of California and you use marijuana and it comes up in a urinalysis, and incidentally, people in the military get tested all the time randomly, and when they change commands, then you can be removed from the military administratively, or they can even court-martial you. Usually it's done administratively. So that can happen. And one of the bad things I should mention is that if you do, use marijuana and you get removed, you may lose your GI benefits, which is devastating for a lot of young people, because that's part of the reason they joined was to serve their country and maybe go to college, and they'll lose those benefits if they come up positive.
Wow. If you're just listening, if you are in the military and you like marijuana, you better give that up or you're done. If you test positive for marijuana in the military, I guess no matter how many years you're there, especially if you're a newbie, you're done. You're going to be discharged. You're going to have what do they call it?
Other than honorable discharge.
Other than honorable discharge, it's going to carry with you. And a lot of these kids go to the military so they get free college. The military will pay for it. Guess what? That's SOL. You lose everything.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that marijuana is legal in California or any other state. It is not legal in the United States federal system, and this is the federal government military we have. So please tell that to your friends who are thinking of enlisting in the military while they're talking to you smoking a joint. Probably not a good idea, is my take. Okay, a couple other things. What are the different ways you get out of the military? Or the different ways? Honorable, how does that go?
So you can be discharged from the military after a court-martial, after they find you guilty. The jurors can discharge you. You could get a bad conduct discharge or dishonorable discharge. Both of those discharges would cause you to lose all your benefits, including the GI Bill, which is the college education payment. And the other way to get out is if you commit a pattern of misconduct, like you do some small things, like you show up late for work. If you do that too many times, they can administratively separate you. Or if you come up positive one time on a urinalysis for a controlled substance, to include marijuana, you can be separated administratively, get an other than honorable discharge, which would also cause you to lose your benefits.
Okay, so you've been a lawyer forever. How many years?
Almost 27 years.
Right, and how many years were you with our firm?
6.
And you regret leaving every day, right?
I regret it every day.
Exactly. That's why you keep calling.
I can't see you. I can't see you or hear your sense of humor. I miss it.
That's exactly. Well, that's why I called you on, just so we could make some jokes. But where's your office?
I'm in Tustin. California.
What's your
It's
address?
335 Centennial Way, Tustin, California, 92780.
And what's your email address? What's your website address?
BruzzoLaw.com. BRUZZO Law.com. I'm the only Bruzzo around, let me tell you.
You see that? There's no competition in criminal law. I want you to call us. I want you to call him. If you call us, we'll charge just a little less, but it doesn't matter. He's a brilliant lawyer. And I love Will Bruzzo. I literally love him like I'll say a younger brother, maybe an older son. I'm not sure. But Will, I really appreciate you coming on the show because you're a great human being. And someday, I'm hoping one of my grandkids is in the same team as one of your kids. That would be awesome.
I'll teach him how to play. How to play.
Exactly. Thank you, Will, for coming on. No problem. Thank you for coming on the show. And everyone, I really appreciate you watching today and listening today. That's the WK Law Power Hour. You can call at 951-922-3532. And if you have a question,
Wallin and Klarich Law hopes that you learned something about the law today. Knowing your legal rights is critical in 2021. Come back next week for more WK Legal Power Hour at 3 o'clock p.m.